Hi, it's Ella. Thank you for being here with me. And yes, I already recorded a video today, but I have so much on my mind that I just thought I'm just gonna start recording another video and see what happens, see if I like the content of it enough to post a second video. So it's happened before. I've also skipped days, so you know, I'm just all willy nilly over here. Um, anyway, and yes, I was like staring at Willie Nelson's face in the background on that book. uh, anyway, so I am not Gwyneth Paltrow's biggest fan. I used to be before. I don't know. She just um, to me, she's kind of the epitome of white privilege. And, obviously I have white privilege as well. But I just feel like she's a bit smug about it, or has been in the past. So all that said is basically a disclaimer. Last night and today, this morning, I watched a series on Netflix. There's only one season so far, but it's I forget the exact name, but basically it's kind of like behind the scenes of Goop, her whole empire that she's built. So, while I don't really appreciate or buy into a lot of what the content is on the Goop site, well, and to be fair, I haven't actually visited the website in a long time, so who knows? It could be all completely different by now, but anyway. But what I do appreciate is this Netflix series that has 6 episodes, and they focused on, there were 6 different topics basically. And I learned, I learned a lot actually from the 6 episodes, and one of them that really stands out to me, and I actually want to rewatch it. I actually will probably end up rewatching the whole thing, the whole series. But one of them that really stands out is when there one episode about energy work, and this energy worker that she brought on, and part of the discussion that went on had to do with when we have surgery on our body, or when we have injuries, specifically cutting open, that cut into our skin and our connective tissue, the fascia. And one of the things that was said was it was just so jarring to me, because I had never thought about it before. I never thought of it like this before, and it just really kind of threw me for a loop. So let me just kind of put a pin right there. So if you don't know, our body stores emotions. Our body stores trauma. It holds all kinds of emotions that need to be released, basically. It need to be kind of unlocked and accessed and released. So, for example, if you have lung problems, like, I have chronic asthma, it's well under control to the point where I actually don't need medication, but it's there. It's an underlying condition. It could come back at any time if I am not careful. So, for me, my lungs being, at one point I was quite sickly, and the lungs hold grief. That's where grief and loss are stored, is in our lungs. So if you struggle with breathing, then chances are good that you have grief that's stuck in your lungs, that you've got loss that has not been processed, and feelings that of grief and loss that are just being held there, and they're stuck, and they're lowering the ability of your lungs to function properly. So that's actually a prime example of how the body holds on to emotions. So think about injuries that you've had in your life. Think about any surgeries that you've had, specifically where you have had to be cut open, or, think about ways that you've been, like I had an injury on my face. I have a big scar here. You can see it. I don't know how easy it is to see. I think it's pretty easy, actually. There it is. Basically during this episode that I was watching, I just burst into tears this morning because, it was relating to, even if we work hard on healing the emotional wounds that we have, our body sometimes needs a different type of release than, let's say, crying or journaling or, talking to a therapist, things like that. Our body might need some other form of release, some other way of releasing, because the body, like literally my head was cracked open and I had to have stitches in my head. And there are days still where, and the injury was 2.5 years ago now. There are still days where it's like the scar hurts. And so just hearing them talk about, what our body goes through energetically when we go under the knife for surgery, or when we are injured, there's an energetic disruption. And so we have to address that through energy. And so this is something that I'm still kind of working out for myself, but it's really interesting to me. So now I definitely want to explore, well, what can I do energetically to address the injuries, the physical injuries that I've had to my body, especially things like this scar. There are two things really that are still really bothersome to me. So one is this scar, and it was a very tenuous time in my life. It was the fall of 2017, and I was working in vain because I still didn't have the whole full picture yet. I was working in vain to try and save my marriage. And I didn't learn really. It just still took me a little while to figure out how dangerous of a person he was for me. And so this scar is from him, and it was an accident. Okay, I want to say it was an accident. Okay, we had been having a lot of really intense discussions, some arguing, and there was something, and I don't actually remember exactly what it was, but something just sort of popped the cork on that, and all of a sudden we both just got really silly, and we started chasing each other around the house, and the dogs got in on it. So we were running in this big circle through 3 rooms in the house, and I stopped and changed direction. And then literally we literally collided our heads from around a blind corner, and we both passed out. I passed out for longer than he did because the hit to my head was worse. So and then I wake up and there's just blood everywhere. I mean, it was just ugh. So had to go had to go to the ER and get stitched up, and required lots and lots and lots of Novocaine, because I think it's Novocaine, whatever the painkiller, the numbing agent that they inject into the skin or under the skin. I think I don't remember what it is. Okay, it doesn't matter. But the doctor who was doing the stitches, she kept having to give me more injections, because I was like, ow, ow. Like, I don't know if you've never had a big cut that requires stitches on your face, especially your forehead where there's no fat really. It is incredibly painful. I mean, it's just unbelievably painful. And of course you have to sit very still, because, there are needles in your face. They're trying to stitch you up. So anyway, the after effect of that hit was much more traumatic for me than the actual hit. The hit was really an accident, and it was funny. But what happened after that, like at the hospital and then afterwards, it really stayed with me. And there are times where, like I said earlier, that the scar itself hurts, and it's not like a stabbing pain. It's more like a dull ache, and it's really just that line, and so when I was watching that episode today about the energy work and saying, we don't consider how our energy is disrupted when we go under the knife, or when our skin is literally cut open. And I just burst into tears. I was like, yeah, I wasn't under the knife for surgery, obviously, but yeah, my face was cut open, literally split open. And, there are a lot of layers to that, So now, at least I'm aware that I still have some healing to do around that. The other injury that really bothers me is that I was in a really bad car accident in 2002, I think it was. I think that's when it was. I was on my way to work, and I actually was going through a stale green light, and someone came and T-boned my car on the passenger side. If they had T-boned me on the driver's side, I would not have lived, actually. Or I probably would not have lived. My body would have been crushed. So it was on the passenger side, and the seatbelt that goes, over your abdomen, that part, the seatbelt, the bruising on my body from the seatbelt, not just on the abdominal part, but also on my chest. My sternum actually was cracked from the seatbelt. That's how hard the impact was, because we were both going close to 50 miles an hour. So, I mean, it was really a tough thing. But the bruising to my abdomen was so severe, but afterwards was even worse, because my entire abdomen just sagged. So, and it never was like that before. So ever since then, I have, like, my abdominal region looks like I have had children, and I never have. So, it looks, my belly looks like, a post childbirth belly. And it's something that has always just deeply, deeply, deeply bothered me. And it's something that I've never been able to get rid of, I guess. You know, except for surgery, which I've never, um, I don't think I would do that. Maybe I would, I don't know. But at this point, it's not an option. So, because there's no money or insurance to pay for it. So, yeah. So that's a part of my body that, and that's just a part of my body I've always struggled with in general. So, but I was just thinking about energetically what changed for my body in that accident. And that's just, you know, it just sort of turned things on their ear for me when I think about the ways that my body has been injured, the ways that I have held emotion and other unprocessed feelings in my body, and or not completely processed and not completely, you know, fully realized issues. So it's just interesting to think about, you know. And now, of course, I want to try the specific energy healing that this person, I think John, his name is John something, in that Netflix episode, because it just really, it was mind blowing watching it. So if you have Netflix and you have not watched it, at least watch that episode, because it really blows your mind. It blew my mind anyway. It was just incredibly insightful and intriguing. So, yeah, there's actually so much more I could say about all of the episodes, but it's basically everything that they talk about is just right up my alley. So it's, you know, there's one episode about psychics and mediums. There's an episode of the energy episode. There's an episode about using psychotics like mushrooms and MDMA and one other drug that I can't remember the name of it, in controlled environments as a form of therapy, and which I am completely excited about that. Like, I would love to try it. And you know, then there's a couple of others that but I enjoyed them all. Another one was cold immersion therapy, basically, and where you can train your body to be able to be in very cold water and you don't panic, essentially. I've been hearing everywhere, left, right, up, down, sideways, that ice baths are very, very good for your immune system. Or, you know, even an ice cold shower, very, very good for your immune system. I've been hearing this everywhere recently. And so I tried it out today. I tried taking an ice cold shower, and which is actually kind of challenging to do in this bathroom because the water likes to be super hot or off. Like, those are the two choices. So trying to get only cold water takes a little bit of finagling. But I managed to do it, and I did take a cold shower, and it was quite invigorating. And actually, by the end of it, I was like, this actually just feels really good. Like, it didn't feel, you know, like knives stabbing me, you know, or any of the other things that you might expect. But that said, I am really, really intolerant to heat, but I don't have that same natural intolerance when it comes to cold. So I'm actually far more tolerant of cold, which is why I want to move to a cold climate. Thank you very much. Anyway, well, it's one reason. But so I'm trying to boost my immune system, keep it going strong, and yeah. So definitely check out that Netflix series if you haven't already. If you have any interest whatsoever in any of those topics, I think it's absolutely fascinating. They also did, probably my least favorite episode was the one that they did on like your biological age versus your chronological age. And then, yeah, that was, but basically everything else, I was like, this is pretty cool, you know? So, I don't know. Anyway, trying to find ways to pass the time, okay? Because I still, with everything going on with COVID-19, I have been thinking, I think it would make more sense for me to try and offer some things online for purchase, whether it's yoga classes, or one-on-one yoga, that sort of thing. Because right now it's just a really challenging time to try and start a brand new career, especially since I've been out of work. And actually, nobody's really hiring right now anyway. There's, basically hiring freezes coming down the pipe from everywhere. So yeah, it's a weird time right now. It's a challenging time. I'm just taking it day by day, honestly. And I'm doing a lot of breathing, focusing a lot on my breath so that I can manage the anxiety, because otherwise my anxiety would just be, completely out of control. So, yeah. So that said, I'm focusing on watching. If I'm watching content, then it's content that is contributing to my well-being, like, the Goop series. I hate admitting that because I'm like, I don't want to support her and, her empire, but there it is. I guess I am anyway. So, but yeah, I'm basically, if I'm watching content, then I'm trying to watch only content that is nurturing and nourishing to me, because I just need that right now. And that's part of, taking care of myself. So anyway, that was a lot. Just talked a lot. So, yeah, I really, really do want to do some live videos, and I actually really want to record some meditations that you can access anytime you want. So I'm gonna look for some, but I might end up writing some of my own too, because I think that would be really fun to do. So, okay, I will sign off for now. So thank you so much for being here with me, and I will see you tomorrow.